Philosophy, the love of wisdom, has been humanity's enduring quest to understand the most fundamental questions about our existence. For thousands of years, philosophers have grappled with profound inquiries about reality, knowledge, ethics, and what it means to be human. Unlike specialized fields that focus on specific domains, philosophy takes a broader view, examining the very foundations of all human understanding. When we break down the word philosophy to its Greek roots, philia meaning love and sophia meaning wisdom, we get a glimpse into its essence. It's not merely an academic discipline, but a passionate pursuit of understanding that has shaped civilizations and continues to influence how we think about ourselves and our world. What makes philosophy unique is its willingness to question assumptions that most people take for granted. While many fields build knowledge upon established foundations, philosophy examines those foundations themselves. It asks not just what we know, but how we know it, why we believe what we believe, and whether our most basic assumptions about reality are justified. The scope of philosophy is remarkably broad. Before the modern era, it encompassed virtually all forms of rational inquiry, including what we now call physics, chemistry, and biology, fields that were once known collectively as natural philosophy. Over time, as these disciplines developed their own specialized methods, philosophy's focus narrowed to questions that couldn't be answered through empirical observation alone. Today, philosophy is organized into several major branches, each addressing different aspects of human inquiry. Metaphysics explores the fundamental nature of reality, asking questions like, what exists? What is the nature of time and space? Do we have free will? Does God exist? These questions probe beyond what we can observe directly, seeking to understand the underlying structure of reality itself. Epistemology, the study of knowledge, examines how we know what we know. It asks, what is knowledge? How is it acquired? What are its limits? Can we be certain about anything? In an age of information overload and competing claims to truth, epistemological questions have never been more relevant. How do we distinguish genuine knowledge from mere opinion or false belief? Ethics, perhaps the most practical branch of philosophy, investigates questions of right and wrong, good and bad. It asks, how should we live? What makes actions right or wrong? Are moral principles universal or relative to cultures and individuals? These questions touch every aspect of human life, from personal decisions to social policies and global challenges. Logic, the study of valid reasoning, provides tools for evaluating arguments and avoiding fallacies. It asks, what makes an argument valid? How can we distinguish sound reasoning from flawed thinking? In a world where we're constantly bombarded with persuasive rhetoric, logical analysis helps us separate strong arguments from weak ones, regardless of how convincingly they're presented. Beyond these core branches, philosophy extends into numerous specialized areas. Aesthetics examines beauty and art. Philosophy of mind explores consciousness and the relationship between mind and body. Political philosophy investigates justice, rights, and the proper organization of society. Philosophy of science examines the foundations and methods of scientific inquiry. The historical development of philosophy reveals a rich tapestry of traditions across different civilizations. Western philosophy began in ancient Greece around the 6th century BCE with the pre-Socratics, who sought natural rather than mythological explanations for cosmic phenomena. Thinkers like Thales, Anaximander, and Heraclitus proposed various theories about the fundamental substance of reality, marking humanity's first systematic attempts at rational cosmology. The classical period of Greek philosophy, dominated by Socrates, Plato, and Aristotle, expanded philosophical inquiry to include ethics, knowledge, and the nature of reality. Socrates, known for his dialectical method of questioning, challenged conventional wisdom and encouraged critical self-examination. His student Plato established the Academy and wrote dialogues exploring metaphysical, epistemological, and ethical questions. Aristotle, Plato's student, founded the Lyceum and developed systematic approaches to logic, metaphysics, ethics, and politics that would influence Western thought for centuries. The Hellenistic and Roman period saw the emergence of philosophical schools like Epicureanism, Stoicism, Skepticism, and Neoplatonism, each offering distinct approaches to achieving wisdom and happiness. During the medieval period, philosophy became closely intertwined with religious thought. as thinkers like Augustine, Anselm, and Thomas Aquinas used philosophical methods to elaborate Christian doctrines. The Renaissance brought renewed interest in ancient philosophy and humanism, while the modern period saw philosophers like Descartes, Spinoza, and Leibniz emphasizing reason as the primary source of knowledge. In contrast, empiricists like Locke, Berkeley, and Hume argued that knowledge comes primarily from sensory experience. Kant attempted to synthesize these approaches, arguing that while experience provides the content of knowledge, the mind imposes its own structure on that content. The 19th century saw the emergence of diverse philosophical systems from thinkers like Hegel, Marx, Kierkegaard, and Nietzsche, while the 20th century witnessed the development of analytic philosophy, pragmatism, phenomenology, existentialism, and other movements that continue to influence contemporary thought. But Western philosophy represents just one tradition among many. Arabic-Persian philosophy emerged in the 9th century CE, influenced by Greek philosophers and Islamic teachings. Thinkers like Al-Kindi, Avicenna, and Al-Ghazali made significant contributions to metaphysics, logic, and theology, often seeking harmony between reason and faith. Indian philosophy, with roots in ancient texts like the Vedas, developed sophisticated systems addressing the nature of reality, knowledge, and spiritual enlightenment. Schools like Nyaya, Vaisheshika, Samkhya, Yoga, Mimamsa, and Vedanta offered diverse perspectives on these questions, while Buddhism and Jainism emerged as distinct philosophical traditions challenging certain Vedic ideas. Chinese philosophy, focusing on practical questions of social conduct, government, and self-cultivation, produced influential traditions like Confucianism and Taoism. Confucius emphasized moral virtues and social harmony, while Taoist thinkers like Laozi explored the concept of living in harmony with the natural way of things. These diverse philosophical traditions reflect different cultural contexts and concerns, yet they share a commitment to rational inquiry and the pursuit of wisdom. They remind us that philosophy is not the exclusive property of any single culture or historical period, but a universal human endeavor. Philosophers employ various methods in their inquiries. Conceptual analysis examines concepts and their relationships, clarifying how we think about fundamental ideas like knowledge, justice, or personhood. Appeals to common sense use widely accepted beliefs as starting points for philosophical reasoning, while appeals to intuition draw on our immediate judgments about particular cases. Thought experiments create hypothetical scenarios to test ideas and explore their implications. For instance, John Rawls' Veil of Ignorance asks us to imagine designing a society without knowing what position we would occupy in it, while Philosophical Zombies, hypothetical beings physically identical to humans but lacking consciousness, challenge materialist theories of mind. Analysis of language examines how language shapes our understanding, revealing how linguistic structures can clarify or obscure philosophical problems. Phenomenological description attempts to capture experience as it appears to consciousness, setting aside theoretical assumptions to focus on the phenomena themselves. Critical questioning subjects beliefs to rigorous examination, challenging assumptions and testing claims against evidence and argument. This Socratic approach remains central to philosophical practice, embodying philosophy's commitment to intellectual honesty and the pursuit of truth. The ability to formulate and evaluate arguments is essential to philosophical thinking. Philosophers judge arguments by their validity, whether the conclusion follows logically from the premises, their soundness, whether the premises are true, and their freedom from fallacies, common reasoning errors that undermine logical force. In the modern world, philosophy maintains important connections with numerous other disciplines. It examines the foundations, concepts, and methods of sciences like physics, biology, and psychology. It explores the nature of mathematical knowledge and the philosophical implications of mathematical discoveries. It addresses ethical questions in business, law, medicine, and journalism, helping professionals navigate complex moral terrain. Contemporary philosophy has expanded to include new areas of inquiry reflecting current social concerns. Questions about race, gender, disability, and sexuality have become standard topics in philosophical discourse. The metaphysics of race examines whether racial categories reflect biological realities or social constructions. while the metaphysics of gender analyzes distinctions between sex and gender, gender identity, and gender expression. Environmental ethics addresses human responsibilities toward the natural world, asking what moral consideration we owe to non-human animals, ecosystems, and future generations. Bioethics examines ethical questions raised by advances in medicine and biotechnology, from genetic engineering to end-of-life care. Philosophy has practical applications in numerous areas of life. It develops critical thinking skills essential for analyzing arguments and evidence in any field. It provides frameworks for ethical decision-making, helping individuals and organizations navigate moral complexities. It informs political discourse about justice, rights, and governance, contributing to debates about how society should be organized. Philosophy also promotes self-understanding, helping individuals reflect on their beliefs, values, and place in the world. It has influenced social movements like feminism, shaping understandings of gender, identity, justice, and equality. While some philosophers emphasize these practical applications, others maintain that philosophy is primarily undertaken for its own sake, as a pursuit of wisdom and understanding for their inherent value. What makes philosophy particularly valuable in our current moment is its ability to step back from immediate concerns and examine deeper questions. In an age of information overload, rapid technological change, and complex global challenges, philosophical thinking offers perspective. It reminds us to question assumptions, consider alternative viewpoints, and reflect on what truly matters. Philosophy teaches us to think more clearly, live more reflectively, and engage more thoughtfully with fundamental questions. It doesn't always provide definitive answers. Indeed, philosophical questions often resist final resolution, but it enriches our understanding by revealing the complexity of the issues we face and the range of possible approaches to them. The philosophical journey is ongoing. Each generation encounters perennial questions anew, while also facing novel challenges that demand fresh thinking. As artificial intelligence advances, for instance, philosophers grapple with questions about consciousness, personhood, and the ethical implications of increasingly autonomous systems. As climate change threatens global ecosystems, philosophical reflection on our relationship with nature takes on new urgency. In these and countless other areas, philosophy continues to play a vital role in human intellectual development. It provides conceptual clarity, critical perspective, and ethical guidance as we navigate an increasingly complex world. Whether approached as an academic discipline, a way of life, or a method of inquiry, philosophy remains essential to the human quest for understanding. The love of wisdom that animated the earliest philosophers continues to inspire thinkers today. In pursuing philosophical questions, we participate in humanity's oldest and most enduring intellectual tradition, a tradition that reminds us of our capacity for wonder, our drive to understand, and our shared aspiration to live wisely in an often perplexing world. Philosophy invites us to look beyond the surface of things, to question what seems obvious, to consider multiple perspectives, and to pursue truth wherever it may lead. In doing so, it offers not just knowledge, but wisdom, not just information, but understanding. In a world that often prioritizes immediate utility and practical results, philosophy reminds us of the value of thinking deeply about fundamental questions, even when those questions resist easy answers. The philosophical spirit is, at its core, a spirit of inquiry, open-minded, rigorous, and persistent in the face of difficulty. It's a spirit that acknowledges the limits of human understanding while continuing to push against those limits. It recognizes that wisdom involves not just knowing, but also recognizing what we don't know, maintaining intellectual humility even as we strive for greater understanding. As we face the challenges of the 21st century, technological disruption, environmental crisis, social division, global inequality, philosophical thinking offers something valuable: the ability to examine our deepest assumptions, consider alternative possibilities, and engage in reasoned dialogue about matters of fundamental importance. In this sense, philosophy isn't just an academic discipline, but a vital resource for navigating an uncertain future with wisdom and integrity. The love of wisdom that defines philosophy isn't just an intellectual stance, but an ethical orientation, a commitment to pursuing truth, understanding, and right action in a complex world. It's an orientation that remains as relevant today as it was when the first philosophers looked up at the stars and wondered about their place in the cosmos. In continuing this ancient quest, we honor our distinctively human capacity to question, to reason, and to seek meaning in our brief but remarkable existence.